welcome back to my YouTube channel. Is it possible that I got it wrong? Is it really possible that I got it wrong in regards to the Menendez brothers? Now, I just watched a documentary about the Menendez brothers, like the real documentary that Netflix had on, and oh my gosh, I believe I got it wrong. I really believe I got it wrong. When I was watching the series originally and they were telling their story, I believe that the brothers killed their parents for money. I thought that they wanted to get their inheritance because their father was going to cut them off, and that's the reason why they blew their parents to pieces, because they wanted to get the money. But then when I watched the actual documentary and watched the trial also on court TV, I'm like, this is possible that these boys were sexually abused by their father, and their mother knew about it and said nothing. Said nothing. Didn't do anything to protect her sons from her husband. Like, how sick and demented is that? And I just can't believe I got it wrong. I'd be the first person to admit when I'm wrong about something. I am wrong, and I truly wrong about this. And I did more investigation about the Menendez boys and their background and their history and everything, and it's just incredible. And I understand why in the first trial it was deadlock, because you had the men wanted to convict these boys because they didn't believe that young boys can be molested, and you have the women who are mothers who understand the pain that these young boys at the time were going through at an early age from 5 to 6 until they're preteen. So the mothers, the women of the jurors, they can relate because they can understood. So that's why it was deadlocked. That's why they couldn't get a verdict. So that's why it was a mistrial, and that's why they did a second trial. And my thing is, with the second trial, it was just unjust. It really was. It was unjust because they dismiss everything. They didn't add the sexual abuse. They didn't add any witnesses. It was just like they just wanted a conviction because of the O.J. Simpson trial. Now, when the whole murder happened with the Menendez brothers, this was August 20th, 1989. I was 9 at the time, and then the trial was in the 90s. I was in my teens, like 12 or 13 or 14. So I did not know the whole full story about the gruesome murders. However, I heard about it later on, through my teens, but I didn't really pay attention. At that time, I was a teenager. But now that I'm an adult and looking at the evidence and seeing the documentary, I feel like, in my opinion, the second trial was unjust. It really was. And the judge was just ridiculous. I don't know how he became a judge, that he would allow in the first trial to have it to be televised and to have evidence of sexual abuse, but in the second trial you didn't want to because you just wanted a conviction, which that's not right. And you believe that young boys don't get sexually abused or molested. And maybe that's like a taboo back in the 90s, that it was not talked about. It didn't happen because you live in Hollywood and things don't happen, especially for young boys. And that's why I feel like the boys didn't come out and say anything, because they were very scared and threatened by their father, and people wouldn't believe them. People wouldn't believe them. They probably would believe Jose Menendez because he was powerful. He was as executive in his company. He had high profile, friends. So no one's not going to take a word of their sons. They're going to believe him, especially the mother. She was it's just crazy to me. So I understand now, by gathering the evidence and seeing everything, I understand. And the reason why I believe what the boys did, let's be clear, I don't condone killing people, okay? I can understand why they did it. The murder was gruesome, it was horrible, it was horrific. However, with that being said, I understand the reason why they did what they did, period. And I was reading a letter that Erik wrote to his cousin about, the sexual abuse by his father. And Erik wrote this: it's still happening, Andy, which is his cousin, Andy, that passed away many, many years ago. But anyway, it is still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I can't explain it. He is so overweight that I can't stand to see him. I never know when it's going to happen. It is driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind. I know what you said before, but I am afraid. You just don't know Dad like I do. He is crazy. He warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle. And Lyle, am I a serious chimp? I don't know. I'll make it through this. I can handle it. Andy, I need to stop thinking about it. And this was Erik's handwriting in his own words. So obviously some of the family knew what was going on, just the way that Jose Menendez was. He was very controlling. He was very manipulative. He was very arrogant. He just wanted things his way. And I feel like, Kitty Menendez, she knew about it and she didn't say anything. I just feel like she just loved her husband so much that she was not willing to say anything. They were just willing to keep this little dirty secret in the family and not have them be exposed, which is just very terrifying to me. Very terrifying and very wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not a mother, but I can't even imagine if I was a mother and I found out that my husband molested my children. You best to believe I will kill you. I shouldn't be saying this because I'm recording this, but I will hurt you, okay? First of all. Second of all, I will call 911 to get you arrested. Thirdly, I will pack up my stuff along with my children and leave because I'm always going to take my children's side. And I feel like parents should do that. If your child is reporting abuse, especially from a family member, whether it's a husband or a cousin or an uncle or aunt, whoever, you have to believe your child. Your children comes first. Sexual abuse is a very serious thing and is very traumatizing too to the child, and it will linger on in their life for the rest of their life. It doesn't go away. It doesn't, and it's just really triggering. And you have to believe your kids. You have to, and not turn a blind eye to please that person or just to ignore the warning signs. If the warning signs are there, you have to investigate and do what's best for your child, because your children's safety is the most important thing, not the pedophiles. Then I did a little bit more research and dig up some information about Kitty Menendez hitting secret in her mental well-being. So apparently, before she got murdered, she went to go see a therapist 6 weeks before her death, that she had a hidden secret, an embarrassing secret. So, and she saw a psychiatrist, Dr. Edwin Koch. And I'm just gonna read to you what she said to the therapist. Kitty Menendez died 6 weeks before her death. She spoke to her therapist and told him she was hiding a sick and embarrassing secrets with regards to her family. This shows that she is absolutely clear of what Jose was doing, and she was embarrassed, but most likely embarrassed of herself too. As she was an enabler, she also carried out acts of abuse to her children too. Dr. Cox said that if she did commit and succeed, the impact of it to her sons would be secondary of carrying it if it affected her sons. She wanted to punish her husband, and she didn't really care or think much of Erik and Lyle. Kitty was a woman who was in a lot of pain, and she had lots of hatred and anger feelings, and she took it out of her family, especially her two sons. Many families members and her children, even her therapist, could give information with her drinking, her alcohol problems. Jose didn't care about her either, nor her to get help. This was a very disturbing and dysfunctional family. This still does not excuse Kitty's actions. So you have to. This is very disturbing, and this is what the therapist, Dr. Cox, was saying, that the mother knew. Kitty knew, but she didn't care. She wanted to commit suicide herself because she found out that her husband been cheating on her for the past 6 years while they were married. So she wanted to end her life. She was just miserable, and then she just took alcohol and depression and just numbed the pain instead of dealing with the situation. And her husband didn't really care. He didn't. He was just too busy getting his freak off from other women and possibility men. We don't know because they're dead, and I can't speak for them. I'm just going by what the therapist said. And like he mentioned, it was a very dysfunctional family, especially both parents. And then unfortunately, the son had to deal with this, really had to deal with this. And it's really sad. It's really sad that had to happen to those boys. It really breaks my heart. And again, I don't condone the murders. Obviously, no one doesn't deserve to die like that. I feel like if you done some terrible things to kids, as far as like sexual abuse, you should be punished. You should be punished, and you should just go to trial and be sentenced. Now I understand why they couldn't leave. Now I understand, because I said in my last video, they should have just left. If they were being sexually abused, they were old enough. At the time, they were. Erik was 18, I believe, and then Lyle was 21. They both were legal at age. They could have left, but their father did not want them to leave. Their father said, "No, you're not going anywhere." So they had nowhere to go. So now it makes more sense to me, and it's just so funny. And I don't mean to go off topic here. It just reminds me of the whole Diddy thing, the whole Diddy case. Like how he drugged these women and these men and threatened them that, oh, if you say anything, I'm gonna show them the tapes. Blackmail, which half of these women and men were drugged and sexually abused without their consent. Obviously, they're not gonna remember when you're drugged until you wake up and you realize you're sore and you don't know what happened until Diddy present a tape to you and said that, oh, I'm gonna blackmail you if you say anything. And it feels like the same thing. Just like we all asked, and including me, why they couldn't leave. They had an easy way out. It's hard. It's hard because you have people blackmailing you and having things over your head that you can't leave, you can't say anything. So what do you do in that situation? I can't even imagine if I was in that situation what I would do, to be honest with you, at that time. I really can't. So it's just heartbreaking. It's just a betrayal for a mother to do that to their own sons. Didn't really care. She, in my opinion, I feel like she was worrying about more of her husband feelings and his needs opposed to her children. And to me, that's selfish. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk about the dead, but that's selfish to me. When it comes, being a mother, your job is to protect your children at all costs. Okay, protect your children. You have to be a mama's bear. You know what I mean? Like for me, I will protect my children at all costs. I will lay my life for my children. Okay, take me before you take my children. That's how I feel. I'm a mama's bear. I will do anything for my children. That's just how I am, and that's how I'm going to be when I become a mom. So I know everyone's been talking about this, the whole TikTok thing, and I did mention it. I'm so glad. I can't believe I'm saying this with the whole social media now, because now, excuse me, now the LA District Attorney is going to reopen the case, hopefully, and actually look over the case. And I'm glad about the TikTok thing. I'm glad that people are like saying things and investigating and looking thoroughly more about the case, like I am. And these men need to go. They need to be free. That's what I'm trying to say. They need to be free. And I hope that they look at the case and they realize, you know, they got it wrong. They got it wrong. They were sexually abused, and other people had mentioned it. These, at the time, they were 18 and 21 at the time. And they were found guilty of first-degree murder, of conspiracy, committed murder, sentenced for life without parole. Now, for the first time, that they're going to do a reevaluation again. A reevaluation in the Menendez case. Pardon me. And I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're doing it. Right now, Erik is 53, the older brother, and Lyle is 56. And you know what? They shouldn't even have a retrial, my honest opinion. It should be time served and goodbye. And let them live their life the way it is. They've been in prison for over decades, maybe 2 decades, you know what I mean? And it's time for them to be set free and time served, and that's it. And I'm just so happy and glad they did not decide the death penalty, because can you imagine if everything breaks out and then they were dead? Like, they would have got it so wrong. You know what I mean? They would have got it so wrong. So I'm glad that that didn't happen, by the grace of God. I'm glad that didn't. And thank God for social media. Like I said, I hope they evaluated the case and they do what they need to do, and then just release these men, you know, and then let them reunite with their spouse, because apparently they're married. You know, they're married, and I'm glad they're together and in prison, because it's been like over decades before they got reunited. But you have to watch this documentary. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's like twists and turns. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's just crazy. But what are your thoughts about the Menendez brothers documentary on Netflix? And also, please give me your thoughts. Do you think they should be set free, serve time, or retrial? Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about the documentary. If you like this video, please subscribe. Please press the subscribe like button and let me know your comments and your thoughts. I just want to say thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel, and I will talk to you guys later on. Bye.